Support for Faith on Trial and Iowa Catholic Radio provided in part by Imogene Ingredients.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. It's time to hear from the top Christian litigators in the nation who have come forward to tell us the truth and help us defend our faith.
Hear ye, hear ye. All rise. Faith on Trial with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano, is in session.
And good Thursday morning from the Iowa Catholic Radio Studios in West Des Moines. I'm Deacon Mike Mano, and I'm here with my friend Gina Knoll. Gina, how are you this morning?
I'm very well, Deacon Mike.
It's your weather, isn't it?
It is. I'm in a great mood. This weather is so wonderful. It's crisp, it's sunny, it's relaxing, perfect for taking long walks. I love it.
And football.
And football,
yeah.
Yes.
My Eagles are playing tonight on Thursday Night Football, so I'll be in front of the TV for that.
Yes. I mentioned in last week's show that a couple of my family members went to the Iowa-Penn State football game last weekend. They said it was the best game they have ever been to in their lives.
Yeah, they're still there. I mean, the way they stormed the field, I would expect them to still be there.
Well, they're definitely still celebrating, but they're back in Des Moines. So we're glad for that.
No, we saw the end. As I mentioned last week, the deacons were in Griswold at the Creighton Retreat Center this weekend. And so we did manage to sneak in on the tail end of that game and got the final score and saw how it ended. So
that's right. And how was your retreat?
Your retreat was very well. It's kind of interesting that Deacon Matt Halbach, who's one of our deacons here, was the retreat master, and he did an excellent job. An excellent job. It was very good. It's one of the better retreats I've been to. Yeah.
His wife also leads women's retreats and does a wonderful job.
Yeah,
What a couple. What a power couple, for
That's
sure.
That's right, yeah. The diocesan power couple, yeah.
Yeah, good news for the for Catholic members here in Des Moines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Speaking of Catholic members here in Des Moines, I'd like to ask our listeners to say a special prayer for a parishioner from Deacon Mike's and my parish. Mr. Greg Annexted passed this week after struggling with lung cancer, and he will be dearly missed by all of us. He had the high energy and unification to bring us all together when there were big projects or things to be accomplished at St. Augustine, and he will be dearly missed. And our thoughts and prayers are with his soul and with his family and his dear wife, Mary Jean.
Mary Jean and everybody. I was fortunate to have taken communion and to have sat and visited with him in his home several times. And I was honored to be on the altar with 5 priests for the funeral mass yesterday, and it was. And then I did the graveside service. So yeah, it was my honor to do all that. And he will leave a big hole in our community that has to be filled.
Not just
somehow.
At our parish, but in the Des Moines community.
Everything else that he was involved in. Yeah, we're gonna certainly miss him. I heard about his passing Saturday night at the retreat, right? And Deacon Kevin Heim and Deacon Kurt were both at the retreat, and I gave them the word, and we said a prayer for Greg at our morning prayer the next day. So
that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you guys, as deacons, could gather in his name.
Yeah,
so if our listeners could just say one quick special prayer or more for the great soul of Greg Annexted.
And his family, and comfort his family, certainly, too.
Much appreciated.
All right, and I want to thank everybody out there who has contributed to our Carathon. And you can still contribute if you wish. You just go to iowacatholicradio.com.
Or give us a call.
Or give us a call. It's 515-223-1150. Well, we said that enough a couple of weeks ago, didn't we?
Did you memorize it? That's
no,
good.
I can looking at it right there.
Oh.
I got a neon sign up flashing.
You're a words guy, not a numbers guy.
That's right.
You have to have it in front of you.
I write things down and then just read them. All right, we're going to have with us Tom Brejcha, who is the president and chief counsel of the Thomas More Society, right after our break. And he's going to be talking to us about any updates in the case of David Daleiden. And if you remember who David Daleiden is, he is the independent journalist who tracked down the Planned Parenthood baby parts scandal, where Planned Parenthood was selling parts from aborted babies, And,
That's right.
And he got into a lot of trouble with that, and now it looks like maybe the judge is getting into some trouble. So we're going to talk to him about whatever is coming up there.
Well, he was sued. He sued people. Now there's issues with the judges in the cases.
Oh, this is a full employment opportunity for lawyers.
And our current vice president is kind of involved in this, too.
She started it when she was as Attorney General in California. So.
And it's still going, and I can't wait to hear from our attorney, Tom Brejcha, to find out what's happened now.
So we will be talking to him in just a couple minutes when we come back. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio.
Thank you, Caldwell Parish, for underwriting Iowa Catholic Radio. Conform to the wishes of the deceased and to Catholic liturgical burial traditions. Caldwell Parish Funeral Home, Des Moines' only Catholic-owned and operated funeral home. CaldwellParish.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and John Leonetti in the Morning provided by Bell Construction.
Bell Construction is a roofing company. They specialize in residential re-roofs, like commercial jobs, and have the experience to meet all of your roofing needs with personal service. With Bell Construction, the owner will come to your home or place of business in person to inspect and ensure the quality of work that you deserve. They pride themselves in working with you on a personal basis and making sure you are satisfied. Bell Construction, 515-963-4494. Bell Construction.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Northwest Bank. Commitment you can bank on. Northwest Bank is a community bank serving Iowa and Nebraska. NW.BANK. Thank you, Northwest Bank, for supporting Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Mercy College of Health Sciences, where you can chart your course for more.
Mercy College provides unparalleled clinical rotations, hands-on learning, accelerated education, and flexible schedules. Since 1899, Mercy College has been transforming students into healthcare professionals. Guided by Catholic values, our faculty put classroom theory into practice. Students are prepared for roles in service and leadership throughout their own careers.
Learn more at mchs.edu. Mercy College of Health Sciences, mchs.edu.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Faith on Trial provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production. And we're back. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and we have with us right now Tom Brejcha, who is the president and chief counsel of the Thomas More Society. And Thomas More is located in Chicago and Omaha, and I think a lot of points east by now, New York and other places. Tom, nice to have you with us again.
Yes, glad to be with you.
Now, let's see. I think I just heard, I'm going to turn that up a little bit. We had the New York. You've got an office in New York now, or some facilities in New York?
Well, yes, indeed. It's actually right across the river in New Jersey. But yes, we've been picking up a lot of dust in the Empire State. And, of course, we're also out in California and Minnesota and Milwaukee now and Omaha. So,
I've noticed out in the Empire State.
We have a long way to go, though.
Yeah, I noticed out in the Empire State you've been cutting them down a little bit out there. I noticed you've had a couple of nice victories out there.
Well, indeed. We'll see what happens. The governor is, imposing this absolute vaccination mandate and disregarding any request for religious exemption. And, the law says she's under an obligation to at least consider and make a reasonable accommodation. And the judge backed us up. She's defying him. So we'll see what happens out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of defying out there, and I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits over this vaccine mandate, especially when we get into the religious exceptions for it, because I notice there's a lot of employers that are saying, well, the Pope says it's okay, and the bishops say it's okay, and so, you don't have an exemption. and of course, that's not the law. Right. That's not the law.
The law is that if you have a sincere belief,
that's right.
It's religious. The employer must reasonably accommodate you, and it's not up to the employer to cross-examine and question, and deny what someone solemnly affirms.
Yeah, and we're running across that. Even just as a parish deacon, I get calls from people with the same complaint. And I think we're handling things a little bit differently out here, and I think it's working well for people. But all over the country, I'm reading these stories of problems with religious exemptions. And then, of course, there's the medical exemption. I mean, what about those people who've already had the disease and have the natural immunity? The government doesn't seem to want to recognize that. But anyway, what we want to talk to you about today is an update on David Daleiden. And a couple of weeks ago, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, a report came out. I think it was originally in the Wall Street Journal, of all these federal judges who have had conflicts of interest. And one of them was Judge Orrick out in California, who heard much of the Daleiden case. And apparently he has many, many ties to Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics and things like that.
Well, indeed. Unfortunately, the Wall Street Journal story focused not on the Planned Parenthood ties of Judge Orrick, but on the fact that he or his wife owned stock in companies who were, in his courtroom as litigants over whose cases he was passing judgment. And that's an automatic disqualification, at least as a matter of federal law. But, even though it's not precisely the issue we've raised, I think it certainly casts a good positive light on what we're doing, because obviously he's not as attentive to his ethical obligations as he ought to be. And in our case, we found evidence long after the case began in front of him. He should have told us, but he didn't, that he had been a lawyer for a settlement house, a charity. Good Samaritan was the name of it, in San Francisco, which did business with Planned Parenthood and set them up, as the sole tenant in their premises in San Francisco. And that very Planned Parenthood affiliate was one of the Planned Parenthood outfits in California. There are quite a few of them. That was suing David in front of Judge Orrick in his own court. So, yes, it casts a good positive light on an issue that may turn out to be determinative in the case.
Yeah. Now, so what legal steps are you taking now? Do you have some legal recourse? Because I know that a couple of years ago you asked the judge to recuse himself and he refused, and that went to another judge who heard it and said, well, all this stuff was in his wife's name, so it doesn't affect him, and let him stay on the case. But now this seems to be a little more serious than we initially thought it was, and now, of course, it's become public. So is there an avenue now to have what Judge Orrick did, have all of that stuff thrown out and make the other side start all over again?
Well, indeed there is, and we're pulling out all the stops. Way back then, as you say, a few years ago, when this first came out in public, and we discovered it at least, and the second judge ruled that Judge Orrick did not have to recuse himself, that is, back out of the case. We took an appeal back then. That appeal was unsuccessful, but it was during the middle of the case. Now that the case has gone to judgment, and of course the judgment was not good. It was based on a jury verdict with much of our evidence. The jury never got to hear it, but we've included that same contention among many others that we've raised in our appeal. That appeal is being briefed now, and we believe we have a good case on appeal on this issue as well as many others.
Now, this would go to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
It'll go back to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and then, of course, we have the right to appeal again if we're unsuccessful there. I'm not predicting one way or the other. We're always confident that we have a good argument and we should prevail, but, we'll take it up to the U.S. Supreme Court. They like to hear cases once they're concluded, and this one is, as I say, judgment was entered against David on the jury verdict.
Okay.
So it has concluded, except for the appeal.
Now, I also understand that the instructions to the jury may be tainted by his bias. that maybe we didn't know about at the time, but all his connections to Planned Parenthood and to the abortion industry.
Well, the jury didn't hear anything about his bias, but his view of the law was so jaundiced, I think is an apt word here,
Okay.
Negative toward David and our defenses. He barred all kinds of evidence, experts whose testimony was at least heard in the criminal case, which is going on in San Francisco Felony Criminal Court. Even though the evidence was heard in the preliminary hearing we had in that criminal case, our jury in the civil case, the racketeering, among other charges, they were barred from hearing it, so it was a one-sided adjudication before Judge Orrick, and his bias is shown by the Planned Parenthood connection there was also evident in his slanted instructions given to the jury on what the law was. You never had a sense in his courtroom that David was looking to affect public policy, to bring to light abuses in the abortion industry. No, and he was doing it in a selfless way. He was not in it to make money like a common criminal, a fraudster. He was doing this as a 20-year-old looking for moral and legal reform in America. He went to law enforcement with what he found.
Well, yeah, there was
no.
There was I think an exception in the California law about recording somebody surreptitiously that allowed you to do it for law enforcement purposes, and those tapes or the information was all turned over to law enforcement, which then picked up and prosecuted on that. Because I think there was one case out there where they had what was it, in Orange County, they finally admitted to selling the aborted baby parts, and they entered into a $7.8 million settlement with the district attorney out there over that.
Well, absolutely. Unfortunately, the Orange County prosecutor did not go after Planned Parenthood. He went after one of the middlemen, bodily tissue brokers, we call them, and not only fined them multi-million-dollar fines, but barred them from ever doing business in California again. But this shows that there was merit to what David was saying, and that he did have an actual effect on public policy. And more recently, the Federal Court of Appeals in Texas upheld the disqualification of Planned Parenthood itself as a Medicaid supplier in that major part of the United States. A big blow. So that was right on point. David had goods on him.
Tom, was that ruling by the Texas court a direct outcome from David's videos and reporting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, he was given explicit credit, in the federal court ruling. So that's obviously, Judge Orrick, on the other hand, said, well, he didn't see any evidence of illegal conduct. Well, we've got two courts of appeals contradicting one another, and that's what you need to get up before the U.S. Supreme Court. So
Sure.
We're not there yet, and we hope we won't have to be, but let's just say that in the future we'll have good arguments to make that we should be heard up there.
So, Tom, I am not a lawyer in this conversation, so I just need you to take 2 seconds here to kind of outline for us. I know that there were lawsuits against David, and then there were on different levels and in different states, some of them including the First Amendment and freedom of speech, of the freedom of the press. That one we're most interested here on our show. And then there were lawsuits or complaints filed against the entities that he exposed, including Planned Parenthood and our current Vice President, Kamala Harris, and the Attorney General's office in California. So can you give us kind of a high view of how many cases are ongoing and how many have been settled and where we're at and all the legalities of what came from David's uncovering of this selling of baby parts?
Try and keep it under an hour, Tom.
I was going to say, I don't. I have to count them one by one.
Well, let's start with the freedom of the press. That suit. Where are we on defining and allowing what he did to be allowed under the First Amendment?
Well, we have raised the First Amendment in every case that's been brought.
Okay.
Civil cases as well as criminal. He was acting as a journalist. Yes, he was a one-man operation with helpers, of course, but, he certainly wasn't a major media outlet. He did have a corporation, a nonprofit corporation to help him get started, and it still exists. Judge Orrick, of course, said there was no First Amendment right. That was part of the biased jury instructions. So you see, he was treated like he was a fraudster, somebody who was just out to do harm to somebody and get money from them. Precisely the opposite of the truth. And we had a case brought against him in Los Angeles that was dismissed way back when, and that was on First Amendment grounds. That was brought by one of the tissue brokers, not by Planned Parenthood itself. We had a criminal case in Texas, Houston, that was ultimately dropped when we pointed out that the prosecutor there had political ties to Planned Parenthood, which is so often the case, had been sharing confidential grand jury material with Planned Parenthood. They're working hand in hand. We're about to bring that to the court, and the prosecutor said, let's drop the case. That was the end of that one. But we have these not one but two cases in front of Judge Orrick, one brought by National Abortion Federation, the other by Planned Parenthood Federation of America. They got separated. Why? Because we appealed. They were filed at different times, and when we appealed, why one went to trial before the other one was ready to go to trial. We've lost both of them. Judge Orrick doing his Planned Parenthood's bidding, and we're on appeal with the first one. We'll be on the appeal with the next one very soon. And we've got a libel case in Colorado, another one against them in New York. So there are all these cases involved.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that you guys are really involved.
Yeah, they are. And just one final question, because we're going to have to get going here in a second. But
Sure.
What the article, I guess, from the Wall Street Journal indicated that the Administrative Office of the U.S. Courts found what was going on very troubling and said they are reviewing the matter. Do you have any understanding as to what they are doing and whether there be any discipline to Judge Orrick for this?
Well, I don't know specifically about Judge Orrick, but many of the judges who were found to have been caught in this conflict of interest because of stock ownership have suggested they may be notifying the litigants before them and suggesting their judgments may be overturned. So that certainly sets an example that the Ninth Circuit, I think, may look at in terms of our argument that Judge Orrick ties to Planned Parenthood should have disqualified him from hearing the case and presiding at that jury trial. So,
well, we certainly appreciate.
We're optimistic.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate everything that you're doing, and I know that you do all these things pro bono. But people, if they have some spare change, can find you at thomasmoresociety.org. They want to make a contribution to any of this.
We're struggling, but it's very expensive, and it's Thomas More with one O, M-O-R-E, society.org. There is a place to donate on the website. And we need prayers, too. It's a spiritual battle in so many ways.
As much as anything else, it certainly is. Tom Brejcha, thank you for joining us today. Tom Brejcha, the Chief Counsel and President of the Thomas More Society. God bless you in your work, and we will be following what's going on.
Thanks for the update.
Well, thank you so much, and to your listeners.
Thank you. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio, and Gina and I will be back in just a couple minutes.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Mercy College of Health Sciences, where you can chart your course for more.
Mercy College provides unparalleled clinical rotations, hands-on learning, accelerated education, and flexible schedules. Since 1899, Mercy College has been transforming students into healthcare professionals. Guided by Catholic values, our faculty put classroom theory into practice. Students are prepared for roles in service and leadership throughout their own careers.
Learn more at mchs.edu. Mercy College of Health Sciences, mchs.edu.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by CTO. Your support has helped thousands of students attend our Catholic schools. CTOIowa.org. At CTO, the bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Catholic Women Now provided in part by Permar Security, providing security solutions for homes and businesses since 1953. Permar Security is a Catholic-owned family business supplying security systems, access control systems, video surveillance, fire alarm systems, and video doorbells. All alarm systems are monitored out of their monitoring center located in the state of Iowa. Permar Security, 515-244-5660, permarsecurity.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Dowling Catholic Sports is provided in part by Ashworth Vision Clinic. With 2 licensed optometrists, Barbara Sheets, a Dowling graduate, and Dr. Craig Harper, the Ashworth Vision Clinic team provides complete eye exams, contact lenses, glasses, glaucoma testing, and pre- and post-operative care. Ashworth Vision Clinic is located at 60th and Ashworth in West Des Moines. 515-440-4610 or online, ashworthvision.com.
And we're back. You're listening to Faith on Trial on Iowa Catholic Radio. Gina, this David Daleiden stuff is like an octopus with so many tentacles.
So many arms, and affects all of us in so many different ways. I think we need to just continue to follow these cases and hope for great outcomes. I'm glad to hear that Texas had a great ruling that affects public policy and saves lives of unborn children. So.
Now remember that the appeals court out there, the Fifth Circuit, is a very conservative circuit.
Well, that's good. Yeah. That's good. We need more of those circuits.
Let's end with our prayer to St. Michael. St. Michael, the archangel, who we really need today, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Well, that's just about it for now. For Gina and myself, thank you for listening. Join us next week, and until then, have a blessed and peaceful week.
Our freedom of conscience and religion is being challenged by laws and regulations imposed by secular society. Faith on Trial, with Defender of the Faith, Deacon Mike Mano. Faith on Trial, Thursdays at 10 a.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio, iowacatholicradio.com, and the Iowa Catholic Radio app.